Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning here. Welcome back to Idiot RC. Today, we're taking a look at the Powerhobby Armor crawler tire, the Class 2 size, coming in at 475 by 1.75. It's a 1.9 inch tire. Of course, the Powerhobby Armor being by Powerhobby. Now, Powerhobby, I don't believe that they actually make these tires. I'm sure that they have somebody making them for them. And a little bit of interesting brief history of Powerhobby is with their tires. They've only kind of recently started having tires. Powerhobby has always sold components, brass and aluminum components and stuff like that, even servos and motors. Kind of like Enjora. I don't think Powerhobby actually makes anything. I think they just resell stuff that's probably all made in China. But recently they started making tires, and then even more recently, they seem to have not, I don't know if they have acquired or if there's a partnership with Jetco. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because there's a tire called the Jetco Conqueror. And the Jetco Conqueror and the Powerhobby Armor are a similar tire. They're both a chevron tread. The difference is the Conqueror, the lugs on a Conqueror look like Hyrax lugs almost, whereas the lugs on the Armor don't. But I've got a set of Jetco Conquerors, and they're really good tires. But my set is before Powerhobby had their name on them, and they were just Jetco. That said, when you go to buy them from Powerhobby, it says Powerhobby Conquerors by Jetco. So I believe it's the same tire. I believe maybe they're just selling the Jetco under the Powerhobby name in the United States. This might not be an issue in Europe or Australia or the Asian countries or anywhere like that overseas. I'm not really sure. But here in the States anyway, if you buy from Powerhobby, you can get Powerhobby branded tires, or you can get Jetco tires sold by Powerhobby. So coming up in the future, I'll do a running video on the Jetco Conqueror. I think it's a great tire, but I want to do a side-by-side comparison with the Powerhobby Armor and the Jetco Conqueror because, well, they're being sold both under the Powerhobby name now, and they're a similar looking tire with a different tread design, and I think a very different compound. The compound on the Armor, which again is what we're running today, is not as soft and sticky as the Jetco Conqueror feels. That said, let's stop talking about it and see how the Armors perform. So coming up onto the rocks now. I messed that line up a little bit, but an easy entry onto the rock. And of course our first obstacle is a somewhat steep side hill where we practice, or we see how the tire side hills and then turns up and repositions. I did mention in another video that I would show the side hill from a different angle so you could see how steep it was, and then I forgot. So I'll try to remember to do that after this obstacle. So far so good. These are side hilling very well, and let's see how they reposition. That's very good. Very little slide. Turning in good. Want to pull that rear end around. That Team K and K 26% underdrive doing its job. And the Stealth XF transmission. A good reposition. Speed it up a little bit. Get up to the top corner. No drama, no issues. Now it's worth mentioning that the Powerhobby Armor is not an inexpensive tire. This is an $80 set of tires. However, this $80 set of tires comes with good dual stage foams. A lot of tires that come with dual stage foams, you'll see, like Boom Racing does this. They sell them with a dual stage foam. Pitbull also does this with some of their tires. They sell it with a dual stage foam, but really what you're getting are two open cell foams stacked on top of each other. One a little bit firmer than the other. You can advertise this as a dual stage, but in performance it doesn't do that great. The Powerhobby Armor comes with a true dual stage foam that is very similar to a Crawler Innovation foam. So you get that hard closed cell inner, and then you get the softer open cell outer that wraps around it. And it also comes with different sets of outer foams. So you get that closed cell inner, and then you get 2 complete sets of outers. You get a soft and a medium. So you can stagger, like in these tires, I'm running soft up front and medium in rear. That's a really good option. Now, it's $80 for the set with those foams. And that seems like a lot for a off-brand tire when you can buy a set of J Concepts for less than $60. However, with a lot of your tires that you're going to pay between $50 and $60 for a set, they are probably going to come with an open cell single stage foam that you're going to want to put a dual stage in. Maybe a 3D insert, maybe a crawler innovation, or maybe just something a little bit better like a crazy crawler. So if you consider that these already come with your foams, $80 is a pretty fair price. A set of crawler innovations foams is about $50 for the set. So let's just say you're paying $40 for the tires and $40 for the foams. That's a pretty good deal. And so far on the side hill, we've seen really good performance. We've seen really good side hilling. Those foams really holding up and doing their job well on keeping that sidewall from collapsing. Reposition is really good. The chevron lug is doing a good job. It's not seeing a lot of slip or side slide like you sometimes see with a chevron lug. There's a little bit, but that's to be expected with almost any tire on a side hill, especially when repositioning and turning. And on the surface of this rock, you can probably see it's very uneven. There's a lot of divots and ripples and everything. So really, really, really good showing from the Powerhobby Armor. I'm very impressed on this obstacle. Not seeing any issues. So let's do something that we don't always do with lesser tires, and that is, and this is why, so you probably can't see it on camera, but that passenger or that driver side rear tire is cocked up in the air. Now once we reverse and get our front passenger tire up on that ledge, there we go, set that back down. Okay, we're pretty unstable right now, but now we're going to try to come down. There we go. There we go. Set that passenger, that driver rear back down, and good. That is a good showing on the first obstacle. I'm very impressed with that. That is, well, that's the best performing tire that I've shown on video so far. And we roll out coming off the obstacle. That's driver air, but that will give us a chance to see how it performs in the very loose soil that is down here. Again, coming down off the obstacle, I took the line wrong, and that was driver air. It's easy to do right there because there's a very specific line you have to follow, but that's okay because this is a good test right here of how the tire does in loose dirt, loose soil, and that's a really good showing. That chevron lug digging in and doing its job, pulling us up there without any issue. So real quick, let's take a look at what this side hill looks from the side. Try to hold the camera up straight. So as you can see, we're not an extremely, oh wow, this camera has it's got a level built in. We're not extremely steep, but it's a pretty good side hill. I should put an angle gauge on that. Looking at it, it's probably a 40 to 45 degree angle in some spots. So a decent side hill. Again, you can see how uneven the surface of it is. There's lots of different pockets and divots, and up here at the top around here, there is, I can't see the camera, so I don't know how well you're able to see that, but there's a couple little ledges and stuff that can present a challenge. So happy with how that did. I have run these tires once before, but never here. I just kind of drove them around in the backyard this winter because I was trying to see how this foam compared with the Crawler Innovations foam, but I did not learn much in my backyard. In my yard, I've got a small pile of cut firewood that I use for our fire pit in our backyard, and I've got a couple rocks set up on it, but using the fire pit, it changes all the time, and really all I use that for is I like to crawl over it when I put new shocks on a truck when I'm trying to tune suspension, because it does allow me to see how my suspension will react. So we're going to reposition here. But so far now, my initial thoughts on the dual stage foams that come with these is they're very good. Now they are a little bit taller than a crawler innovation in the 475 size. These would do really well in a like a rupture. They're just a little bit taller than that crawler innovation. And crawler innovation foams come with the foam has a tuning ring on it that can be removed, and these don't have that. So I do prefer the crawler innovation, but honestly, in this tire, these foams are doing really well. It's allowing it to conform to the surface, and it is doing everything that I want it to do. Yeah, I can see my shadow in the camera. So I'm out here a little earlier in the day than I have been the last couple days. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting at 47 degree ambient with a light breeze. Rock temperature was 45, which for this early in the morning is pretty good in the winter. That means that last night was the first night in a while that it hasn't got below freezing. But I've got to get on the road earlier today. I've got to be on the road by probably 3 so I can get home and see the wife and kids and get ready for the week tomorrow. And my wife is going to go on a girls' trip next weekend, so help her get ready for that, because she'll have a busy week at work and then go on that trip. So we're a little bit cooler temperatures on the ambient and on the ambient temperature with the breeze and everything, but the rock surface is actually pretty much where we've been at all weekend. But the sun being in a different position, I'm going to apologize now. My shadow is probably going to be in frame more than it has been. And right now, you're kind of looking into the sunrise. So I hope that that's not going to wash out the picture too much. But we shall see. Now this obstacle, the Armor did a good showing on it. We always do this obstacle 3 times. That first time, we kind of took the first line. There's a, quote, easy line and hard line on this that gets you onto the obstacle. We kind of did the easy line and hard line. Usually the whole vehicle comes up on that rock that the driver's side went on, and I kind of went half on and half off. So we're going to see how the Armor does taking the difficult line. I need to stop saying hard line, because I know that if I ever get actual viewers, somebody's going to start commenting about how that's not a hard line. This is what a hard line is. But again, when I use the term hard line, I'm talking about the harder option to get onto an obstacle. Again, this tire testing platform is basically an Element Trail Walker with some light modifications. We're not doing comp crawling out here. The difference in this line is it's steeper to get on. There's nothing to push off of on the ground. And I don't know that we're going to be able to pull it. We can hook the edge. Nope. One more try. Okay, we're not going to be able to just straight up pull it, which not a ton of tires can. Let's try it with wheel speed. All right, we can. I believe we're going to be able to get that with wheel speed. There we go. So that passes on the hard line. Again, a lot of crawling obstacles is figuring out how the tire and the rig is going to handle that obstacle. Some tires could take that line, just slowly pull right up over it. Some can't take it at all, and some just need a little bit of wheel speed. The Powerhobby Armor can do that with a little bit of wheel speed. Now we're going to come back and we're going to do the easy line again, but we're going to do the whole... Oh, what am I hung on? Got my diff hung on something. Alright, so normally the easy line is coming up on this rock here first, like here. And then just transitioning across the rock. Nice and easy pull. No drama involved, no excessive wheel speed. Pulls right up and over. Powerhobby Armor doing the thing. Now as we come up and over here, transition up here. Whoop. My thumb's not where it needs to be on the steering wheel. Let's see if I can show this. Sorry about the camera, guys. What we want to do here is get that passenger tire on that ridge, walk that ridge for a second, and then transition up and over. Perfect. Good job. So what some tires will do there is struggle to make that gap, struggle to make that transition. But the Armor doing it without any problems. Got my skid hung up there. Now we come to an obstacle that is a little bit deceptive. It's not an extremely difficult obstacle, but the tire has to have a lug that is capable of pulling up on that ledge right there. So what we want to see is, well, if I don't just shove the bumper into the rock. Oh, that's not doing great. There we go. Oh, maybe I had a hand up there. So what we want to see is the lug be able to hook the edge of that rock and pull itself up, because now we have nothing but loose rocks to push up against on the ground. And so if that rear tire can't hook the ledge, it's not going to get up. And you see this a lot. This is more of a, it is kind of a lug shape, but it's especially a compound. I think, can we get it? Yeah, we got it. So we did the thing there. Not the best showing I've ever seen. Some of that could have been driver error, but you know, again, you drive a rig to the tire, it's not always going to perform the same way. And commonly what you'll see is that the rear tires just can't hook that. Well, I shouldn't say commonly, but you'll see that with less tires. I'm noticing the camera might be wobbling a bit. I hope it doesn't tip over. We're dealing with the morning breeze right now. Normally here later in the morning or early afternoon, that wind will shift and it'll be blocked. But right now we're not in the most optimal crawling conditions. The temperature is fine. It's not a heavy wind. I don't know if the wind is going to come through on the mic or not, because again, I'm not using a lavalier or a lapel mic or anything. We're just kind of using the phone. So hopefully it's not too disruptive. Ooh. This is me driving the obstacle wrong. All right. This is the next obstacle, and what we're trying to do is come down, transition here, then exit on a side hill. This is not difficult, but tires that don't side hill well struggle. And me not driving properly, I tend to try to push the front of the truck into that rock a lot. So on this obstacle, a lot of times what it takes is a reverse, which on tires that don't side hill sometimes means that the rear end slides further out and you have to exit the rock straight down instead of on the side hill. But that is not what we had to do. We were able to complete this obstacle, and that's a pass. So far, we have not had any failures with the Armor. Now coming down here is a pretty easy transition. Again, all this really depends on is having some forward drive, being able to hook the lug on that ledge, and we're right up and over, no issues. And coming up here, this can be a difficult obstacle to get on. Several ways to do it. Oh, that's pretty easy. That did it really easily. Sometimes you need more wheel speed to get it. but that did it really easy. So there's a pass on the first part. Now we transition to the second part, and this is one that I had to figure out the hard way, that had the obstacle, part of the rock had come loose during the winter months with the weather and had made a big gap there. Yeah, that transition did well, so I had to repair that obstacle yesterday. That's a pass on the second part of that obstacle. Driving out of frame here. The third part is coming up. All right, now part 3. We want to come around here. We want to just walk this line down here. Stretch. Ooh, don't roll out. Yeah, there we go. Settle that rear. See those foams letting the tire conform. And right down, still having issues with the servo. And here we are at the obstacle that I keep saying on camera can be done, but I've yet to show on camera that it can be done. Let's hope that the armor can complete this obstacle so you can see what it looks like when a tire actually does it. So far I have decent hopes. We haven't failed any obstacles, but this is a difficult one, and we shall see. In fact, now it's kind of been so long that since it's been a successful pass, I'm starting to question whether I'm doing the line correctly or not. What we need to do is get that rear end up. And I'm not at a good angle now. Let's see. Get that front end over. Ooh, there we go, we're up on it. Now, I'm hooked on the slider. Slide back. As you get commonly with Chevron tires, that slide back. Yesterday I knocked some loose gravel out from the bottom of that obstacle. And I said in the video when I did that I thought that would help kind of keep the bumper from getting hung up, but those rocks did help me get on the obstacle. I'm kind of wondering now if those rocks weren't necessary for getting on the obstacle. I'm going to try putting those rocks back and see what happens. Oh, yeah, there's a big divot there now. Alright, we're going to see if that made a difference. This looks a little more true to how it used to look. Again, this is the problem in crawling in an uncontrolled environment. Yeah, that's more normal. When stuff like that happens, it makes me want to rerun tires that previously failed. Alright, now my slider's hooked. I have a love-hate relationship with sliders. They're nice, you can pivot on them sometimes, and they protect your body, but sometimes you get hung up on them and they're an Achilles heel. Okay, so this is going to take some wheel speed, but we're going to have to try to control it, because what we need to do is that steep rock we're trying to climb up, the right side ledge, we need to hook the passenger front tire on that ledge to drive up. I think it's going to take wheel speed to get up there, but I don't want to bounce the rig. going to keep at it for a minute because I think this tire can do it. But I think it needs a very particular line, because we do have, as you see with Chevron tread a lot, we do have slip back as we start crawling up. And if we try a wheel speed, we're bouncing on the dual stage foam and the uneven surface of that rock and causing us just to bounce sideways. So not loving how that's reacting. And we roll out. We're going to give it one more shot before we call it a failure. Ooh. I'm having major trouble with this servo, guys. I don't know if we're going to be able to complete the day. It is a 9i mod 50 kg direct power servo. It's been in this truck for well over a year. It served me well, but it's starting to get jittery and starting to not always react the way I want it to. So I've got a Reefs at home, a 777 that I'm going to be putting in the truck regardless, because that came out of a rig that I sold, and it's going to give me, it's a direct power servo. I run 3S batteries, and the 777 does better on 3S than the 9i mod does, but this 9i mod might have to go into a spares bin, or maybe be used for parts. I know I said one more, but one more. So what most, well, not most, what good tires do here is crawl sideways right there and let you get that ledge. I'm kind of wondering if there's not still some transition at the bottom of this that used to exist that doesn't exist now. I don't know. I don't know that it's able to do it. The Powerhobby. Oh yes, there we go. Come on, Armor. Oh, I lost the edge. There we go. Get that edge. Hook it. Keep going. There we go. That is a successful obstacle. Now, I gave that more tries than maybe I probably should have. But I had a feeling it could do it. I had a feeling that a little bit of it was my driving. A little bit of it was this obstacle has changed. A little bit of it was the servo. But I think it just took a little more trial and error. And it is one of those things, you know, you can tell when you think a tire should be able to do something versus when it can't. So I might not always give a tire the same amount of tries as I've given another tire, but usually that means because you can kind of tell whether a tire is going to be able to do something or not. Ooh, see right there? We're losing torque, or we got a mechanical break or something. I think we're losing torque. I think we have a servo that is failing us. That's okay. Got more servos. We can replace it. Where do I set the camera here? I thought I set it up there. That seems too high. I don't think that's quite right for where I normally set it. It's definitely at an angle. Maybe it's usually at an angle here. I don't know why I'm trying. There we go, that's a little better. Sometimes I forget to pause the video and adjust the camera. So anyway, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with the servo. Nothing too major yet. I'll look at it after this run and make sure that there's not something with the steering link or the servo horn or something giving us issues. Did that obstacle with absolutely no problem. But in the last couple days, I've noticed that this servo has just kind of been going out. I think we're just losing a servo. I mean, the 9i mod, it's a pretty cheap, what am I doing? Pretty cheap servo from Amazon. It's $50 maybe. All right. Nearing the end of the course, we have the last big rock obstacle before we go to the loose terrain and hill climb challenge. And I have very high hopes for the Armor. We have not failed any obstacles yet. Yes, this is what we like to see. Just go right up. A little bit of slip back, that chevron tread as we transition to different surfaces or different... Oh, there's a log on the other side of the truck that I believe I'm rubbing my slider against. Let's see if we can get away from that. There we go. Struggling right here. The rock gets a little bit uneven. That front suspension being unloaded isn't helping. There we go. All right, now wheel speed. And we're off. That is a pass. Very little drama. I've mentioned before this truck used to have shock bands on it. I need to get the shock bands back on because I like the way this truck performs better with shock bands. It can do all the things on this course without the bands, but I like it better with. And I think there might be some tires that can't do certain obstacles without the bands, but they can with the bands. This obstacle that I'm not even recording gets more difficult every time I run it because the ground underneath it is getting dug out more and more. I might have to come up with a different thing to do here eventually because I'm fearful that it's going to get so dug out that it's just not possible. But this obstacle is a little bit dependent on the track width of the truck. You have to get your front tires up on the rocks like this, and then we want to just bump up. As you can see, there's less and less ground to push up against, and that bump keeps getting steeper and steeper, and then the skid and the links of the truck hang up on these rocks, and it becomes more difficult. That was successful, but I think this is an obstacle that we're going to have to rethink at some point. A shorter tire probably is not going to be able to do it at all. Now what we see as we drive up through here is just kind of test of how the tire does on more of a trail type terrain, looser surfaces, got leaves, got different transitions to different rocks. Oop, got my front bumper pushed in. That's what we need. Sorry, I'm trying to watch the truck and the camera at the same time and kind of failing at giving you guys good angles. Little bit of difficulty getting up here. Been noticing more tires struggling with this lately. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's just the normal tire that I run on this truck, the Fossil. I'm not sure if it just happens to be exceptionally good at this obstacle. But most things I've been noticing are struggling to get up right here, which it is slick. There's only dirt on the ground to push up against. The bottom of the rock is kind of broken up, and then up here you have a big lip. So I suppose I could see this being more challenging than it looks, more challenging than I originally thought it was. Surely this is not going to be the first failure for the Armor, though. This little thing would be an embarrassment to fail on, but it is not doing the job. I'm going to put the camera down here. Hopefully that gives you a decent enough angle on the obstacle for me to be able to, or for you to be able to see, so I can actually drive. I think part of the complication is trying to drive one-handed and watch the camera and watch the truck and talk. Kind of messing me up, but yeah, we're not. There we go. You got to pull that side, walk the edge of that, but then you got to get it back over. There we go. All right, well, we'll call that a pass. I think I need to relearn to drive that obstacle. Might be part of the problem. I think some of that might be my error. Definitely some of that's probably putting down the camera. And now the last piece, the gravel hill climb. We see how the truck does, or the tire does, in loose gravel on an incline. We start out at about 40% throttle, making progress but slowly. And it looks like progress has halted. We'll go full throttle. Full throttle, we're able to go up really without any issue. So, as we complete the course, how do I feel about the Powerhobby Armor? I'm impressed. $80 is not necessarily the easiest pill to swallow, but it does come with good dual stage foams that are good enough to run in the tire permanently. And if you decide you don't like these tires, or when they eventually wear out, if you don't want to get another set, that foam can be used in any other class 2 size tire. So I think the value is pretty fair. I think that the performance was good. It's definitely not the best I've ever seen. It honestly did better than I thought it would. The tread patterns, chevron tread patterns, aren't always my favorite on a crawler tire. They do certain things pretty well. They do other things pretty not well. These seem to strike a pretty good balance between the benefits and the drawbacks of a chevron tread. They have good forward drive. They have good traction on loose surfaces, which are some of the advantages of a chevron tread. They do experience a little bit of fallback when you're on steeper inclines, which is a disadvantage of a chevron tread. However, they're able to recover and overcome it. They do like wheel speed on some of those steeper obstacles, getting up on them. Now, remember, here in Kansas, what I'm crawling on is sandstone, which is a higher grip rock than you're going to see in some areas. So if you're in an area where you're crawling on slicker surface rocks, the Powerhobby Armor might not be the best option for you. But here it did well. It did all of the obstacles on the course without failure, and that's a pass. This tire is something that I would recommend, as long as you're willing to pay the $80 and keep in mind that it does come with a good dual stage foam. I think it's worth it. Until next time.